Ever wanted to learn Python but didn't know where to start? Well, you've come to the right place. Python is a versatile, beginner-friendly programming language. It's a powerful tool used in fields as diverse as web development, data analysis, and artificial intelligence. Known for its simplicity and readability, Python is an excellent starting point for budding programmers. This video will provide you with a 10-minute crash course in Python basics, setting a strong foundation for your programming journey. In the next few minutes, you'll get a grasp of the basics of Python. Starting with the basics, meet the print function. This function is the heart of Python, allowing us to display text, numbers, or even variables on the screen. Think of it as your way of communicating with the world through your code. Now let's see it in action. The print function is pretty straightforward. You just type print followed by parentheses. Inside these parentheses, you place what you want to display. For example, if you want to say hello to the world, you'd write print hello world. When you run this code, Python will do exactly what you told it to do. Print out the phrase hello world on the screen. It's like magic, but it's really just Python doing its thing. And there you have it, your first line of Python code. You're now a part of the global community of Python programmers. Congratulations! Moving on, let's understand variables and data types. In the realm of programming, variables are like containers that hold data. Think of them like boxes, where you can store anything from numbers to text. Now, Python, being a dynamically typed language, allows these boxes to hold data of any type. That brings us to data types. Essentially, data types are the classification or categorization of data items. They represent the kind of value that tells what operations can be performed on a particular data. The first data type we'll discuss is integers. These are whole numbers without a fraction or a decimal component. For example, the number 7 or -3. Next we have floats. These are real numbers with a floating point representing fractional parts. For instance, 3.14 or -0.75 are floats. Then we have strings. These are sequences of characters enclosed in quotes. They can include words, sentences, or even numbers treated as text. For instance, hello world or 123 are strings. Finally, we have booleans. This data type has only two values, true and false. They are often used in conditions and comparisons. Let's see these data types in action with some variables. We can create an integer variable x and give it the value 5. So we write x equals 5. Then we can create a float variable y and assign it the value 3.14. So we write y equals 3. Value Alice. So we write name equals Alice. Lastly, we can create a boolean variable is underscore student and assign it the value true. So we write is underscore student equals true. And there you have it. A quick look at variables and data types in Python. Remember, choosing the right data type is crucial in Python programming. So keep practicing and exploring these concepts to become a proficient Pythonista. Now let's do some math with Python. Python's arithmetic operators allow us to perform mathematical operations just like a calculator. We have the usual suspects: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. For instance, if you want to add 2 and 3, you simply type 2 plus 3 and voila! Python returns 5. But Python can do more than just simple arithmetic. We also have exponentiation, which is like saying 2 raised to the power of 3, denoted as 2 double asterisk 3. Python calculates this as 8. Then there's modulus, represented by the percentage symbol. Modulus gives us the remainder of a division operation. For example, 5 modulus 2 returns 1, because when we divide 5 by 2, we have a remainder of 1. So whether you're calculating the tip on your dinner bill or launching rockets into space, Python's got you covered. As you see, Python makes math easy and fun. Up next, conditional statements, the decision makers in our code. Now imagine you're a traffic light. You can't just randomly switch colors, right? You have to make decisions based on conditions. If a car is approaching, you turn yellow, then red. If there are no cars, you turn green. That's basically how conditional statements work in Python. A conditional statement is a feature in Python that handles decision making. It allows your code to make choices based on certain conditions. It's like the brain of your code, making decisions on what to do next depending on the information it gets. Now let's dive into an example. The most common conditional statement is the if-else statement. It's like a two-way road. The if part is one direction, where your code goes if a certain condition is true. The else part is the other direction, where your code goes if the condition is not true. Here's how it looks. Let's say we have a variable called age. We'll set it to 18. To check if someone is an adult or a minor, we could write, if age is greater than or equal to 18, print you are an adult. Else print you are a minor. What this does is it checks the condition age is greater than or equal to 18. If it's true, it executes the code in the if block, which is print you are an adult. If it's not true, it executes the code in the else block, which is print you are a minor. So essentially, an if-else statement is a way for your code to make a decision based on a condition. If the condition is true, it does one thing. If it's false, it does something else. With conditional statements, you can make your code react differently to different inputs. It's like giving your code the ability to think and make decisions. So, get creative, play around with different conditions, and see what your code can do. Let's now talk about loops, the real time savers. Loops in the world of programming are like your favorite playlist on repeat. Just as you would play your favorite tunes over and over again, loops allow a block of code to be executed repeatedly. There are two main types of loops in Python, for and while. For loop is like an obedient student who knows exactly how many times to recite a poem. You specify the number of iterations, and the for loop will follow it to the letter. Here's an example. For I in range 5, print I. This loop will print numbers 0 through 4. The range function generates a sequence of numbers. In this case, it generates 0 to 4, and for each number in this range, the loop prints out the number. So you see, we've just printed 5 numbers with just 2 lines of code. That's the magic of for loops. Next up is the while loop. A while loop is like a curious child who keeps asking why until a condition is met. It keeps executing the code as long as the condition remains true. Here's a while loop in action. Count equal sign 0 while count 5. Print count, count plus equal sign 1. In this example, we start with a count of 0. As long as the count is less than 5, the loop prints the count and then increments it by 1. Once the count reaches 5, the loop stops. So you see, for and while loops each have their own unique strengths. For loops are great when you know the exact number of iterations, while while loops are ideal when you want the loop to continue until a certain condition is met. Loops are powerful tools to avoid repetitive tasks in your code. They might seem a bit tricky at first, but once you get the hang of them, they'll become your best friends in your coding journey. Finally, let's discuss functions, the building blocks of any program. Functions are essentially chunks of code that perform a specific task. Functions are the backbone of most programming languages, including Python. The beauty of functions is that once a function is defined, it can be used over and over again throughout your code. This not only saves you time, but also makes your code easier to read and debug. Let's illustrate this with an example. Suppose we have a function called greet, which takes a name as a parameter and prints a greeting message. In Python, we define this function using the def keyword, like so, def greet name, print hello plus name plus etchy. To call or invoke this function, we simply use its name followed by parentheses enclosing any required parameters. For example, greet Bob will output hello Bob. Functions make your code organized, reusable, and easy to manage. And that's a wrap on the basics of Python. Today we've journeyed through the fundamentals of this versatile language, covering everything from the print function, variables and data types, to arithmetic operations, conditional statements and loops. We even dipped our toes into the world of functions. It's been a whirlwind tour, but don't forget, this is just the start. Keep practicing and exploring Python. Remember, every expert was once a beginner. Happy coding!